everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to create this watercolour holly card painting. Not only is this card extremely fun to make and it means you've got a couple more Christmas cards to give out, it's a really good way to learn how to add shadows appropriately and stop everything looking flat, just bringing it to life that little bit more. Make sure to like and subscribe for more nature art Christmas themed content, and I really hope you enjoy this video. Let me know how you find it down below in the comments, and let's get straight to the painting. To begin with, for this painting you want to make sure you've got a really quick outline drawn of some holly. I drew 3 circles in the middle of the page and then 3 pieces of holly coming out from that. It's super easy to do, and once you've got the outline down you can get ready to start painting. You want to start by pre-mixing your colours for the actual holly. It's better to do this before going straight in because we're going to be working on blending lots of different colours, which can be quite difficult if you're mixing in between, as it means the paper's got that little bit more time to dry, and we don't want that. We want to just be able to go straight in with the colour. So I created a nice emerald green, lime green, bright green, and also a dark green to add the shadows in later on. And I just use all of these colours straight out of the palette, so nothing overly complicated in terms of the colours that we're going to be using today, as long as we can blend them all together nicely and we've got that variation. And we definitely want the dark green. If you don't have a dark green watercolour, mix green with some brown to get the balance right, and this will be perfect to adding in all of the dark areas. Now it's important to note for this painting I focused on the shadows. That's what's going to make the piece and bring it to life. So I imagine that the light was coming from the right over to the left hand side, and this consistency later on is going to bring everything together. Instead of having shadows all over the place, it's a lot easier to work on it coming from one side. Any side's fine if you want to flip it the other way around, or it coming from the bottom up, maybe top down, anything like that will work as long as you're consistent. So once you're happy with all of the greens that we've created, we can go in and begin painting the actual pieces of holly. I used the wet in wet method for this and started from right working over to the left, mainly because I'm left-handed, so if you're right-handed maybe flip this the other way and work from left to right to prevent any smudging of the paint. And it's important to note that I worked on section at a time for each piece of holly, so I drew a little line going through the centre of each piece so I could see where that divide was, and then added the water down within each half of the holly and then went in with the paint on this section. I used the lighter greens to begin with and then went in with the darker greens later on. I didn't allow any drying time between all of these colours though, as I wanted them to blend really nicely. And just dotting this down you should see a natural bleed out, which is entirely what we want for this painting. That natural combination of colour really is beautiful, and when it dries you should see it being brought to life. Keeping consistent with the shadows as well, I made sure all of my darker areas were centred towards where the holly was, and I also kept everything that little bit darker on the left hand side in comparison to the right. There were still shadows on the right towards the berries, but less so in comparison to all of the area on the left. The separation between the holly is going to be really important later on as well, as I created a small little line of negative space which provides a really beautiful highlight for the holly and means you can really see the divide between each section, but because I kept it really thin and small it doesn't look unnatural and it just fits perfectly into this piece. And I also made sure to curve around the berries. This was really important as you don't want any green going in there, you want the berries to stand out, and because watercolour is translucent it would dry and you'd be able to see the red popping out over the green, so it wouldn't create a natural separation, which is really crucial to this painting. For the red berries I created a bright red. I didn't add any other colour to this as it was vibrant enough on its own, and I also mixed some red with purple to create that nice deep red that I was going to use for the shadows within this section. I worked berry at a time and I painted around it with that bright red to begin with, keeping the line quite thin. This was just to get the general outline of the berry, and the trick for the berries is to place the highlight in the same section for each one. For example, I kept my highlight on the top right hand side of each section, And to do this, I went around the berry with the bright red, then I cleaned my brush and used some water to blend out that red into the centre where I wanted that highlight to be, keeping it really light, and then added a lot more colour surrounding that. So you've got that really dark section in a circular form, and it's super simple to do this as long as you've got control over the watercolour and don't use too much water so that the red just bleeds straight into the middle. It also gives the berries that little bit more dimension, and it stops them looking flat just by adding this combination of highlight going into the dark section. And then I went in with the dark purple on the bottom left to see the real transition between all the shades. So it goes from the dark purpley red into the bright red, and then blends out into practically nothing where we want that highlight to be. You may also want to let each berry dry before going into the next one, as if all these colours begin blending together, the separation between each berry is going to be really hard to identify, and it just becomes a little bit messy, the highlights get ruined, and overall it can ruin the entire painting. So just be conscious of that. I'd say better be safe than sorry, and letting this dry is just going to really help keep everything that little bit more separate. Then to finish the painting, you want to let the berries dry. Again, you don't want this to bleed into the last little bit that I want to add into this painting, as it will take away from the really bright vibrancy of the berries, and it just creates a bit of a mess, and it will ruin the entire painting, which you don't want to do at this stage as there's only a little bit left to actually add. So I went in with some grey just to add a little bit more context. So I added a little line where the berries finish at the bottom, kind of creates that flat surface. It looks like they're laid down doing this. It's a really simple way to bring everything to life, and I think it actually brings your attention more to the berries. You want this to be the focal point of the painting, and in doing this it really does make the red pop that little bit more. So I added that little line and then blended out with some water, so there was quite a bit of grey going around the whole entire piece. And to finish, once you're happy with the painting, you can go in and add some calligraphy. You might want to wait for it to dry before going in and doing this though, again just to prevent smudging. But if you are happy to just go straight in, write whatever you choose. You can make it a little bit more personal, including someone's name. If this card is for anyone in particular, I think that would be a really cute way to finish. And that's how to create this super easy holly painting. Thank you so much for watching today's tutorial. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you all next time for more Christmas themed content. And if you've enjoyed this tutorial today, don't forget to check out the links down below in the description where you'll find my Patreon. Following this link means you can access the full-time tutorial, so make sure to check that out. Thank you again. Bye guys!